From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the Hourly News Blast. LGBTQ Nation is reporting a federal appeals court has ruled that West Texas A&M University's ban on student organization drag performances violates the Constitution's First Amendment protections of free speech. The court's Thursday ruling overturns a 2023 district court ruling in favor of the university. In March 2023, West Texas A&M University President Walter Wendler sent a letter to students, faculty, and staff announcing that the student LGBTQ plus group Spectrum WT's upcoming drag event benefiting the Trevor Project, scheduled for March 31st of that year, had been canceled. Though the organizers had promised to avoid any profanity or lewdness and to bar attendance from anyone younger than 18, Wendler's letter still characterized drag as a form of derisive, divisive, and demoralizing misogyny, and also compared it to blackface. Wendler's letter added that he would not appear to condone the diminishment of any group at the expense of impertinent gestures toward another group for any reason, even when the law of the land appears to require it. In response to his letter, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of Spectrum WT, seeking an injunction forcing the university to allow the event on campus. FIRE's suit said that Wendler admitted to censoring the show in violation of the First Amendment. FIRE's lawsuit also claimed that Wendler's actions violated a campus free speech law signed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott in 2020, which explicitly forbids universities from taking action against student organizations on the basis of a political, religious, philosophical, ideological, or academic viewpoint expressed by the organization or its expressive activities. And in its 2-1 decision issued last Thursday, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, Judge Leslie H. Southwick, an appointee of former President George W. Bush, wrote that theatric performances and drag shows plainly involve expressive conduct within the protection of the First Amendment. President Wendler did not argue either before the district court or on appeal that restricting the intended drag show would survive strict scrutiny, Southwick added. Based on the record before us, the district court erred in concluding that the plaintiffs were not substantially likely to succeed on the merits of their First Amendment claim. Adam Steinbaugh, a FIRE attorney, wrote that FIRE is overjoyed that our clients will now be able to express themselves freely and will be watching to make sure that President Wendler obeys the law of the land while the case proceeds, the Hill reports. This is a victory, not just for Spectrum WT, but for any public university students at risk of being silenced by campus censors. Now, in his dissent, appeals judge James C. Ho, appointed by the current president, wrote that drag shows enjoy greater favor among cultural elites than religious activities, that bans on drag are necessary to protect cisgender women. I don't quite see how. It's not as if they're being excluded from the audience. And that forcing universities to host on-campus drag shows may lead to courts forcing universities to implement transgender inclusive policies. Oh my goodness, Judge Ho, clutch pearls. Mercy. In a social media post, gay legal journalist Mark Joseph Stern criticized Ho's rancid dissent, saying Ho used it to whine about discrimination against Christians, criticize drag, slander trans people, and plug Allie Bethy Stuckey's new book. Stern called Ho's dissent part of the judge's campaign to eventually be named as a justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. Justice Ho. He can sit right next to Justice Ruckus. Though Spectrum WT and FIRE filed the lawsuit against Wendler in March 2023, in September 2023, a Texas district court judge denied the student's request for a preliminary injunction and dismissed a damages claim against Wendler. FIRE appealed that decision to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals the following month. However, in February 2024, the appeals court declined to expedite the appeal. While awaiting the ruling, Wendler canceled Spectrum's WT's 2024 drag event, citing his 2023 letter and a June 2023 Texas law restricting sexually oriented performances. A federal judge knocked down that law barely 3 months after it went into effect. And in 2024, the Supreme Court refused Spectrum WT's request for an emergency intervention against Wendler's action, again because of Justice Ruckus. Then, on March 25th of this year, Texas A&M University's Board of Regents passed a resolution banning all drag performances on its 11 university campuses. The resolution, approved in a unanimous vote, said that drag shows are inconsistent with the system's mission and core values, like educating students, I should hope, including the value of respect for others, because such performances are likely to create or contribute to a hostile environment for women, contrary to university and federal anti-discrimination policies. Again, women are not excluded from the audience. These events often involve unwelcome and objectively offensive conduct based on sex for many members of the respective communities of the universities, particularly when they involve the mockery or objectification of women, kind of like Hooters does. Objectification of women? Kind of like that Sydney Sweeney jeans commercial. Anyway, the resolution stated that, echoing similar language found in the U.S. President's Gender Ideology Executive Order. Okay, I'm going to break this down. In other words, these boorish and unsophisticated Texas rubes would not understand the origins of drag dating back to the Globe Theater and the works of Shakespeare, in which men played feminine roles simply because women were not allowed on stage back then. They would be floored by Milton Berle's performances on television during prime time in the 1950s. They would be utterly flummoxed, clutching their pearls by Robin Williams' role in Mrs. Doubtfire and Nathan Lane in The Birdcage. Tootsie? I don't think so, Dustin Hoffman. Rocky Horror Picture Show? Nope. Not on their watch. Simply put, the university's Board of Regents is as cultured as spoiled yogurt. That's our news blast for this hour. If you're watching our news videos on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast right here on PEP Radio.